Alright, so today I want to give my first thoughts and impressions on Spider-Man for PS4. I have been playing it. I have not finished it. I think I'm a little bit more than halfway through the game. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know exactly how long the game is, but some significant stuff has happened for sure. I'm starting to get an idea of where the story is going to go, the direction it's going in. But I do want to complete, I want to say 100% of the game before I do my final review on it, because I'm noticing there is a lot to do in this game, and I'm actually really interested in doing it because it doesn't seem like overwhelming. Maybe I'm wrong on that. We'll have to see. But I wanted to take some time to talk about what I think of the game so far. I know a lot of you have really been asking me to play Horizon Zero Dawn, and I do 100% plan on doing that. I have the game. I bought it, so it's ready to go. But for now, I wanted to get to Spider-Man first, and I like to kind of take my time and enjoy the games usually before moving on to the next. It doesn't always work out that way, but I'm really enjoying Spider-Man so far. And again, I do want to kind of get through everything there is to do. So I can't promise that I will get to Horizon Zero Dawn this month, because Days Gone is coming out at the end of the month, and my time is limited. I want to play new games that come out as well. But rest assured, it's here. I'm going to play it at some point, and I'm going to be talking about it. I'm very excited. A lot of people told me to expect really great things from it. But for now, we're going to talk about Spider-Man. And the first thing I have to say that I'm enjoying the most, I'd have to say, about playing a Spider-Man game from a story perspective anyway, because I will get into the gameplay, but just speaking to the story and this universe of Spider-Man, the thing I truly appreciate the most is the fact that, and I didn't realize this going into it, this is an older Spider-Man, not like a really old Spider-Man, but a Spider-Man, a Peter Parker that's been doing this for years, and the world and everything is already kind of set up and established, and I appreciated this so much. And maybe it's because I wasn't expecting it, but that really made me feel relieved, because I was kind of afraid like I'm going to have to go through the same old song and dance, setting up Spider-Man's character, his origin. Even though we've seen it over and over again, we already know, what happens and how he becomes Spider-Man and all that stuff, and they just straight up skipped over all of that. And I appreciated that so much, and I think it was just so cool for them to do this and to see a Peter Parker that's kind of been around the block, right? And he's already established here. He knows, his villains are established, and he's kind of not conquered everything clearly, but he's just more wise, and he's not really a teenager anymore. And I feel like that's why this incarnation of Peter Parker and Spider-Man is probably my favorite so far, because Spider-Man as a character I never really got into. I've always had a really hard time relating to the character, because he's supposed to be like a teenager in high school, and they never really, and I don't read the comics, but in the movies and stuff, I've just never really felt like I could really relate to the character, and because of that, I just never really cared about Spider-Man that much. But so far, this game has actually, that has to be the biggest surprise to me, is the fact that I'm finding myself caring about the character of Peter Parker more so than I ever have in like movies or anything like that. And I don't really know the lore of the comics that well, so if there's anything within this universe of Spider-Man that's really changed up that maybe I should be noticing, I'm not really noticing it. I'm just accepting it for what it is. I find it interesting that him and MJ aren't really together anymore. But going to the gameplay side of things, the Traversal, the actual act of swinging around as Spider-Man and going through New York is absolutely superb. And I have to really give Insomniac a lot of credit for being able to nail it the way they have. They really made sure, because obviously you're going to be doing a lot of it in this game since it's open world. They really made sure that the traversal aspect while playing as Spider-Man is one of the best parts of this game, is fun, is intuitive, easy to use, something that just feels fluid and smooth and just natural, and it flows. And I have to say that is something that for a Spider-Man game is so critically important to nail, and Insomniac just knocked it out of the park. And the fact that as you slowly go through your upgrade trees, you get a few other things you can add into the mix while traversing. It took me just a little bit to get used to, but not long at all. And it really, I think that kind of lends to the idea that they really made it very intuitive. So I have to really emphasize that I'm really impressed so far with the story and the way they've set it up. I'm very interested in Peter Parker as a character more so than I think I ever have been, and this universe they've established. I'm really enjoying the interaction with the characters, him and MJ, Aunt May, all that good stuff. And Martin Lee is very interesting. I've never heard of this villain. I don't know if he's an established villain or if he's new for the game, but either way, very cool so far. Obviously, we know what's, hopefully for anybody who's listening, there may be spoilers in this video, so if you don't want any spoilers at all, hopefully I didn't spoil anything so far up until this point, maybe click off the video. But, what's going on with Octavius, I think it's becoming very obvious what happens with him, and I'm very interested to continue to see that. And everything's set up so good. And going back to the gameplay, the combat. Now, the combat is obviously something you're doing a lot in the game, and I'm really enjoying it. It can get a little bit repetitive, but when it comes to the gadgets, I've learned that in order to really fully get everything out of the combat that I guess the way Insomniac intends you to do so, you really need to take full advantage of your gadgets. Now, I am playing on the hardest difficulty, for anybody wondering, so combat is not really like a breeze. There have been times where I've had a struggle, and I realized that I need to rely on my gadgets a lot more than I thought I did, and it really incentivized me to want to continue to upgrade my gadgets, to want to actually make them more powerful and become more useful, because once you really start fleshing them out and you unlock more, you start to realize just how useful they are in combat. But the combat's very good. It's very fluid. It's pretty simple when it comes to just the melee combat. I like the finishers. They're pretty fun. And it's just done really well. Like, there's nothing that stands out that makes me think, oh, this is not good. This is not fun to play. It can get a little bit repetitive, but I feel like with really any superhero game where you're doing a lot of fighting, a lot of hand-to-hand combat, stuff like that, knocking out bad guys, that's just how it is, right? The enemy variety so far has been pretty good, though. I've noticed that they definitely give you different challenges in terms of the different types of enemies. Like, some enemies have shields, some have like batons and stuff, and you can upgrade Spider-Man to be able to handle them more efficiently, which I thought was very cool. And it just, kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit, where when you're taking on a massive group of enemies, there's different varieties, there's different types, so you have to know how to approach each one, and you kind of got to be quick on your feet that way. So overall, I really enjoy the combat. I love the traversal. I'm enjoying the upgrades, the skill trees, the fact that you level up. I'm enjoying unlocking new suits. All this stuff, it's all blends really, really well, man, and it's just such a joy to play so far. And the story, the writing is way better than I expected. It's top tier level. I mean, I don't know if it's on the same level as, say, God of War, but for a superhero game, man, it's some of the best writing in a superhero game I've ever played. The story is very intriguing, very interesting, and I find myself really wanting to push forward to complete this game and find out how it ends and what happens. I'm very, very eager to do that. So overall, my experience with Spider-Man so far has been a really, really good one. I can tell that this is another masterpiece I'm playing, and it's just getting better and better. And the one last thing I want to add here before ending the video is I don't know if this is a negative yet. I'm sure I'll find out, because I do plan on 100%ing, this game. But I noticed there is a ton of side activity, just random stuff for you to do, like finding the backpacks, the random crimes, the research stations for Harry, all this stuff, the pigeons, and just the side missions in general. It's a lot, and it's not bad. I'm glad there's a ton of content here. The only thing I'm a little nervous about is that if I am I going to run into this problem where if I want to 100% the game, which I think a lot of people approach it that way, is it going to get extremely repetitive to the point of nauseum? I don't know yet, so I can't really say that's a negative yet. I also feel like it's not necessarily fair to say that's a negative for people who just want to mainline the story and do a couple side activities. I will say though, they do integrate it in the game where you need to do some of these side activities in order to continue to level up and to really encourage you to fully flesh out Spider-Man's abilities and stuff like that. So I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's very cool. One last thing I want to add here, because I keep thinking of more things. The world itself, like the open world of New York, very, very impressive, Insomniac. Like, I have to say, when I first started walking on the street as Spider-Man, I was genuinely very surprised at just how fleshed out it was. I was expecting it to kind of be barren, just a few NPCs here and there, maybe a few cars here and there, but they did such a good job at kind of like making the world feel alive. I have to say that that's one thing that truly, really surprised me, was how alive, when walking down on the streets or even just swinging low on the streets, how alive New York actually feels. And I was not expecting that. I absolutely was not expecting that. I just thought it was so cool. I find myself just kind of walking around and wandering as Spider-Man and just exploring every nook and cranny and just appreciating the detail. And I love that in games, man. I love when you can just walk around the environments and you can tell like the developers painstakingly crafted some of this stuff, and I just appreciate that. I don't know if that's just me, but yeah, as you guys can tell, I'm really enjoying Spider-Man. I am very surprised because I'm not a big Spider-Man fan, and I expected the game to be good, of course, but it's surpassing my expectations, man. And like, I know that's the recurring theme every time I'm talking about these PlayStation exclusives so far. Most of them have really truly been surpassing my expectations by, by a lot here, and it's awesome. I'm really enjoying it. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I do plan to, again, 100% this game, and when I do, I will give my thoughts on it. I know there's DLC for it. Maybe I'll try to play that if I find that I have the time. And if I feel like it's meaningful and it maybe continues the story. But I will be doing a final review of this game, hopefully before the end of the month, because I'm trying to pace myself and I want to rush through it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about what I had to say here about Spider-Man for PS4? Have you played it yourself? What did you like? What did you dislike? What do you agree or disagree with what I had to say here? Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Really helps out. Lets me know you guys are enjoying the content. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon. And feel free to share the video out on top of all that, because it all helps. But until next time, guys, take care.